I never thought slicing into a butterball turkey could feel like carving out my own heart, but there I was, elbow deep in giblets, while Mom barked orders from the living room like a drill sergeant on eggnog. Zoe. Honey, make sure the stuffing's gluten-free this year. Your aunt's on that fad diet again. My knife slipped, nicking my thumb, and blood dotted the cutting board like tiny accusations. That's when I snapped, whispering to the empty kitchen. Fuck your turkey. This Christmas, I'm serving revenge cold. It started innocently enough, or so I told myself back in those early days of playing family martyr. I'm Zoe Harlan, 32, the invisible glue in our picture-perfect Midwestern clan. The one who turned every Thanksgiving into a Norman Rockwell fever dream and every Christmas into a Hallmark wet dream. We lived in Elmwood Heights, that cookie-cutter suburb outside Chicago where lawns are mowed to military precision and minivans gleam like they're auditioning for a Ford ad. Dad was a retired cop, all bluff and bluster, the kind of guy who quoted Reagan at barbecues. Mom ran the PDA like a cartel, her smile as sharp as her bob haircut. And then there was Lila, my twin sister, the golden child, the one who got the corner office at a loop law firm by 28, schmoozing senators over steak tartare while I slaved away as a line cook at Gino's Pizzeria, dreaming of my own bistro that never materialized. We were identical once, mirror images with our chestnut curls and hazel eyes that could pierce tinfoil. But life forked us early. Lila went Ivy League on a scholarship I was too distracted to snag code for, too busy wiping asses and chopping onions. I stayed local. Community college for culinary arts. Because who needs a degree when you've got a whisk and a prayer? Family lore painted me as the nurturing one, the hearth keeper, the reason holidays didn't devolve into food fights. Zoe's our secret weapon, Dad would boom, slapping my back after I pulled off the perfect prime rib. Secret weapon? More like indentured servant. I'd spend weeks planning menus, sourcing organic cranberries from some co-op in Wisconsin, only to hear, "It was good, but could you dial back the sage next time?" from Lila, picking at her plate like it offended her Birkin bag. The betrayal hit like a sucker punch from a Black Friday mob. It was 2 years ago, right after that godforsaken Christmas where I outdid myself. Crown roast of pork, truffled mashed potatoes, a Yule log that could have starred in a bakery porn reel. We were all stuffed and slurring carols when Lila pulled me aside in the garage, her breath minty with Bailey's.
Zoe,
I need your help.
just
Sign this. Papers, thick as a phone book. Something about her firm's administrative loan to cover a bad investment. I didn't read it. Why would I? She was my sister. The one who'd braided my hair during Dad's rages. The one who promised we'd conquer the world together. I scrawled my name, hugged her, and went back to scraping pans. 6 months later, FBI vans clogged our cul-de-sac like it was a crime scene from a Netflix true crime binge. Lila's firm? Embezzlement ring. Millions siphoned through shell accounts. And the paper trail? Led straight to me. Zoe Harlan. Accomplice in fraud, the agent said. Cuffs cold as betrayal. Turns out, those papers weren't alone. They were forged endorsements making me the fall guy. Lila had cooked the books, but I was the chef who took the heat. She testified against me in a plea deal, her voice steady as she detailed my desperation to fund my delusional restaurant dreams. The jury ate it up. I got 5 years in Logan Correctional. Minimum security, but maximum soul crush. Family visits dried up after month 3. It's too hard on your father, Mom wrote in a card with a snowman that looked as hollow as I felt. Prison was a slow roast, days blending into gray slop and lockdown drills. I learned to hate the holidays there. Christmas meant fluorescent-lit caroling with inmates croaking jingle bells like a dirge. But it forged me, sharpened that knife-edge resentment into something lethal. Lila?
She thrived.
Promotions. A corner suite overlooking Lake Michigan. Even a spread in Chicago Magazine, Legal Eagle Lila Harlan, from suburbs to summit. No mention of the twin she buried alive in legalese. Parole came early, good behavior, they said. But really because the judge pitted the duped sister. I emerged 6 months ago, a ghost in my own skin, crashing at a halfway house in Joliet that smelled like despair and instant ramen. The family? Radio silence. Except for the annual holiday text from Mom. Zoe, we're doing potluck this year. Bring your famous green bean casserole. As if I hadn't spent years as their unpaid caterer. That's when the idea simmered. Skip Christmas. Not just skip, sabotage it from the shadows. But fate, that cruel sous chef, had bigger plans. It happened on a muggy August night, the kind where cicadas scream like they're auditioning for a horror flick. I'd scraped together a job at a dingy diner off I-80, flipping burgers for tips that barely covered bus fare. After shift, I hit a dive bar called the Rusty Fork, nursing a flat bud while eavesdropping on truckers' tall tales. That's where I met Dr. Elias Crow, a disheveled genius in a lab coat stained with what looked like regret. He was 3 whiskeys deep, ranting about neural transference, some black market tech his ex-partners at a North Shore biotech firm had shelved after ethics boards threw a fit. Body swaps. Zoe, he slurred, having pried my name from my name tag. Not science fiction. Quantum entanglement. Mapped neural maps. Swap consciousness like swapping recipes. But they called it Frankenstein 2.0. I laughed it off as barstool bullshit, but he slipped me a card. Crow Neural Dynamics. Consults for the desperate. Desperation? That's my middle name. A week later, I was in his basement lab in Evanston. A concrete bunker humming with servers that sounded like asthmatic refrigerators. Why me? I asked, strapped to a gurney that reeked of ozone and old sweat.
Elias.
Sober now and twitchy. Adjusted dials. You hate someone enough to wear their skin? That's the fuel. Lila Harlan, your twin. Perfect match. 80% success rate. The rest.
Well.
Let's not borrow trouble. 80%. Better odds than the lottery. Worse than Russian roulette. I thought of her smug face on that magazine cover. Of the courtroom where she twisted the knife.
Do it, I said.
The machine whirred, a migraine in stereo, and the world dissolved into static. When I woke, staring at porcelain tiles that weren't mine, I knew it worked. I was in her body. Her penthouse bathroom, all marble and mirrors, reflecting back luxury I'd only window shopped. I flexed fingers that weren't calloused from cleavers, touched lips plumped by fillers. Holy shit, I whispered, her voice a silky purr that made her stomach churn. The swap was seamless, or so Elias claimed. My old body, comatose in his lab, would recover with implanted memories, vague unease, nothing traceable. Lila's consciousness dumped into mine, waking up in a Joliet flophouse with no ID, no allies. Poetic. Really? I rifled through her closet, Chanel suits, Louboutins that pinched like accusations. Her phone buzzed, work emails, a reminder for family holiday planning call. Bingo. First move, infiltrate. I strode into Harlan and Associates like I owned it, which, in her skin,
I did.
the receptionist cooed. Morning, Emmis. Harlan, coffee black. I nodded, fighting vertigo as colleagues fawned. Lila's life was a grease ladder, power lunches at Gibson's, depositions that bent truth like pretzels. But I saw the cracks. The embezzlement wasn't a one-off. She'd been skimming for years, laundering through charity events she chaired. Board members whispered about audits. A junior associate, Marcus, shot me wary glances like he knew too much.
Nights. I pratet over takeout sushi.
Her credit card footing the bill. Revenge wasn't a bonfire. It was a slow smoke, choking the air from her empire. I started small, anonymous tips to the Bar Association, hinting at ethical lapses. Then bolder, fiddling with case files, planting red flags in ongoing suits. Clients pulled out. Whispers turned to shouts. Lila. What's going on? Her boss, Mr. Hargrove, demanded in a glass-walled office. I feigned a migraine, hers, actually, from the swap's aftershocks, and murmured, just burnout. Family stuff. He bought it.
For now.
Thanksgiving was my dry run. The family gathered at the old house in Elmwood. Minus me, the real me. Anyway, I arrived as Lila, bearing a store-bought pie because screw baking in this body, heels weren't made for ovens. Mom air-kissed. Dad grunted approval. Where's Zoe? She always does the bird. I shrugged. Lila's nonchalance, a perfect mask.
Parole drama.
You know how she is, unreliable. They nodded. Forks scraping plates I'd once slaved over. Inside, I seethed. This was my table. My rituals they'd stolen along with my freedom. That's when I dropped the first bomb, over pumpkin pie. I confessed a family secret. Not the full truth. Oh no. That was my ace, but enough to stir the pot. Remember that summer Dad's pension went missing? Zoe didn't just borrow it for her silly cooking school. I covered for her. Bailed her out. Again. Lies. All woven from half-truths. Dad's face purpled. Mom's eyes narrowed. That girl. Always taking. Seeds planted. Chaos brewed. But power corrupts, they say. And wearing Lila's skin started to itch. Her memories bled through in flashes. The thrill of the first skim. The guilt drowned in Merlot. I found her diary, digital. Password twin power. Detailing how she'd envied me once. My simple joys amid her cutthroat climb. Envy turned to resentment when I shone at family dose. The talented cook stealing her spotlight. The frame job? Not just survival, but spite. Zoe thinks she's the heart of us. Time she learned she's dispensable. Dispensable. The word fueled me. As December crept in, with its relentless jingle of retail hell, I escalated. Christmas loomed like a guillotine. The family chat exploded with plans. Zoe. Confirm casserole. As Lila suggested, why not hire a caterer this year? Zoe's. Changed. Outrage. Tradition. But doubt flickered. Meanwhile, at the firm, I greenlit a risky settlement that tanked a major client, citing Lila's judgment lapse. Hargrove called me in. You're slipping. Harlan. Step back. I smiled her smile. Family first. Holidays are sacred. Sacred. My ass. I rented a cabin up in Door County, Wisconsin, Lila's retreat spot, per her calendar, to regroup. Snow fell like ash, blanketing pines in deceptive peace. There, alone with a fire crackling and a bottle of her favorite cab, I confronted the mirror. Her face stared back, flawless but fracturing. Who was I becoming? The swap wasn't just revenge, it was erasure. My rough hands, my laugh lines from squinting at recipes, they were gone, archived in Elias's cryogenic vault. And Lila? Reports trickled in, my old body, wandering Joliet streets, mumbling about stolen lives. Cops dismissed her as a parolee relapse.
Crawl?
Necessary. The real hook sank on December 20th. Elias called. Voice like gravel. Complication. Neural feedback. Your essences are merging. You'll start adopting traits. Traits? Last week, I'd caught myself critiquing a barista's latte art. Lila's perfectionism leaking in. Worse, flashes of her terror post-swap, waking in my threadbare apartment, clawing at unfamiliar scars, screaming for a sister who never came. Guilt gnawed, but I shoved it down. Fix it, I hissed. He laughed bitterly.
Can't.
It's the price. Embrace it, or lose yourself. Lose myself? I already had. Christmas Eve dawned brittle, wind howling off Lake Michigan like a banshee. The family expected the full Harlan hoedown, lights strung like nooses, eggnog spiked with secrets. I drove the Beamer back to Elmwood. Her playlists, indie folk that mocked my country radio roots, blaring. At the house, it was chaos prep, Mom fretting garland, Dad wrestling the tree. Lila, help with the lights. I demurred, claiming a migraine, and slipped upstairs to Zoe's old room, now a guest space with my cookbooks gathering dust. That's when I heard it, the front door creaking. Footsteps, heavy and wrong. I peeked down the hall, a figure in a threadbare coat, face obscured by a hood. But that gate.
Mine.
Lila, in my body, eyes wild as a cornered fox. She'd tracked me, somehow piecing the swap from fragmented memories. Zoe, she rasped, my voice cracking like cheap china. Panic surged, hers.
Mine. Ours.
I bolted downstairs, but she cornered me in the kitchen, where the turkey waited like a sacrificial lamb. You bitch, she spat, grabbing a carving knife. What did you do? The family thundered in, drawn by shouts. Mom gasped. Zoe? Lila? What's? Confusion reigned. To them, it was twins turned feral. One in rags, one in cashmere, blades drawn. Dad lunged, wrestling the knife away, bellowing for calm. But Lila me lunged with words. She stole my life.
Framme, no.
Wait. I framed her. The money. The prison, it was me. Bombshell. The air thickened. Eggnog turning to bile. Mom clutched her pearls. Dad's face drained of color. Lies. I countered. Lila's poised my shield. She's relapsed. Drugs. Paranoia. I covered for her. Always have. But cracks showed. Marcus from the firm had texted earlier. Audits in. Signatures don't match. Feds incoming. Lila's empire crumbled in real time. The standoff stretched. A powder keg with lit fuses. Lila sobbed, collapsing against the fridge. My old scars stark under fluorescent glare. I did it because you were always the favorite. The cook. The heart. I was the shadow. Her confession poured, the embezzlement born of jealousy. The frame job to eclipse me forever. Betrayal's full bouquet. Deep.
Rotten.
Laced with sibling rot that only twins could brew. I could end it there, let the cops haul her away. Claim victory. But the merge hit, her pain lanced through me, my guilt mirroring back. Controversial choice. I dropped the knife, pulled her, me, into a hug that smelled of prison soap and Chanel no.
5.
We're both monsters now, I whispered. The family watched, frozen in judgment's glare. Dad called 911. Sirens wailed like carolers from hell. As paramedics swarmed, separating us like conjoined demons, I locked eyes with Lila across the chaos. In her, my gaze. A flicker, understanding, or deeper hate. The twist gut-punched as Elias's van screeched up. He tailed her to contain the leak. But he wasn't savior. He was saboteur. Merger complete, he murmured, injecting something cold into my arm. Vision blurred, bodies realigning, essences snapping back. I tumbled into my skin, rough and real, as Lila surged into hers, gasping triumph. No, not triumph. The real reversal. Elias was my ally. He'd orchestrated the swap for data, selling neural maps to the biotech sharks who'd canned his project. Lila and I, guinea pigs in a grudge match. She'd known, hired him months ago to test on me. A final twist of a knife. Prison? Her gift. To break me before the real experiment. But the merge backfired. We retained fragments, her cunning in my bones, my resilience in hers. Cops arrived, statements tangled as tinsel. Charges flew, fraud reopened, assault pending. The family splintered. Mom disowned us both. Dad retreated to his garage shrine of cop memorabilia. Lila got house arrest in her penthouse. I back to Joliet, but with a settlement from the firm that bought my silence. Christmas morning broke gray, snow muffling the world. I sat in my halfway house, staring at a store-bought gingerbread man, uneaten. Victory? Hollow as a cracked ornament. I'd skipped the holiday, unleashed chaos, but the revenge tasted like ash, sweet at first, then choking. Was I the villain, donning her skin to destroy, or her, framing kin for a crown? Readers, you decide. Justice served cold, or a feast of fools. Yet, in the quiet, a spark, my bistro dreams, now funded by that settlement. Lila's text started, halting apologies, laced with her new empathy. Truce? New Year's. Maybe. Or maybe I ghost her forever. Holidays henceforth? Mine alone. Recipes rewritten. No more martyr. Just Zoe. Plating her own damn life. The fallout from that kitchen Armageddon lingered like the aftertaste of spoiled eggnog. Bitter. Cloying. Impossible to rinse away. New Year's Eve found me in a dive bar on the outskirts of Joliet. The kind where resolutions go to die under neon buzz and sticky floors. I'd turned 33 a week earlier, but the cake was a Hostess cupcake smuggled from the halfway house vending machine. Candles imagined in the flicker of a Bud Light sign. No family fanfare. No Lila's performative toasts. Just me, nursing a whiskey sour that burned less than the memories. The settlement from Harlan and Associates had been a godsend, 6 figures. Hush money wrapped in NDAs thicker than fruitcake. Enough to spring me from parole purgatory and lease a shoebox apartment above a laundromat in Bridgeport, South Side Chicago. The air hummed with the constant churn of washers, a mechanical lullaby that drowned out the what-ifs. What if I'd read those papers? What if Elias's machine had fritzed at 20%? What if Lila's jealousy hadn't festered into felony? But regrets are like bad roux, they clump if you stir too long. Instead, I focused on reinvention. By day, I slung hash at a soul food joint called Ma's Kitchen, where the owner, a steel-haired battle axe named Dolores, saw through my armor. "Girl, you chop onions like you're auditioning for a slasher flick," she'd say, sliding me extra shifts. Nights, I sketched menus in a battered notebook, fusion twists on family classics, green bean casserole deconstructed with truffle foam, turkey croquettes with sriracha aioli. My bistro, Harlan Shadow, wasn't brick and mortar yet, just a whisper, a rebellion against the ghost of holiday servitude. Lila, meanwhile, navigated her velvet handcuffs from that glass eyrie overlooking the loop. House arrest meant Zoom depositions and personal shoppers, but the scandal had clipped her wings. Disbarment loomed like a storm cloud over Grant Park, clients scattered faster than pigeons at a hot dog cart. Her texts evolved from venom to vulnerability. "Zoe, therapy says forgiveness starts with coffee. Your call." I deleted most, but one stuck, a photo of her in our old kitchen, attempting piekrast, flour-dusted and defeated. Caption: tastes like regret. Part of me, the merged fragment, her precision bleeding into my intuition, ached to reply. The rest hardened like overbaked meringue. Spring thawed the ice, but not the chill between us. Elmwood Heights bloomed with tulips and denial. Mom's Facebook feed overflowed with blessed posts about grandkids from cousins, airbrushed to erase the twins' implosion. Dad, a single postcard, fishing in Wisconsin. Water's fine. Yours ain't. Cryptic as ever. I drove out once, past the cul-de-sac where FBI lights had once danced, but turned back at the sight of our old house, sold. A young family stringing kites in the yard, oblivious to the blood under the welcome mat. Elias Crow vanished post-swap, his lab torched in an electrical fire that screamed cover-up. Biotech insiders whispered of corporate retrieval, neural tech too juicy for shelves. I hired a PI on settlement scraps. A grizzled ex-cop named Frankie who chain-smoked camels and cursed like a Tarantino sidekick. Crows ghosted.
Kid.
Offshore. Probably sipping Mai Tais with Russian oligarchs. But get this, your sister's prints all over his funding. She bankrolled the experiment. Lila, the puppet master. It twisted the knife deeper, not just framing me for fraud, but engineering the swap to reclaim her skin after the feds closed in. She'd planned to recover, play victim, sue the lab into oblivion while I rotted as the mad parolee. The merge? Unintended, but it backfired spectacularly, grafting my grit onto her gloss. Frankie slid me a dossier, emails, wire transfers, her signature on consent forms forged in my name. She's a viper.
Zoe.
But vipers shed skin. Yours now. Shedding. That's what summer demanded. I enrolled in a pop-up culinary incubator in Pilsen, a warehouse pulsing with immigrant chefs and venture bros sniffing for the next foodie unicorn. There, amid tamales steaming and kimchi fermenting, I found footing. My pitch for Harlan Shadow hooked a silent partner, Raj, a tech bro who'd traded Silicon Valley burnout for Chicago brisket. Revenge on a plate, he grinned, forking over seed money. Love the angle, dark. Personal. Unapologetic. Construction started in August. A gutted storefront on 18th Street becoming my fortress. Demo day. Sledgehammer in hand. I pulverized drywall like It was Lila's alibis. Sweat mixed with dust. Cathartic as confession. Dolores catered the crew, fried chicken and cornbread that drew neighbors like moths. Word spread, the ex-con chef rising from ashes. Local rags nibbled, from prison pan to Pilsen powerhouse. Controversy simmered, letters to editors decrying felon favoritism, but buzz built. Reservations trickled for the soft open. Lila crashed the site unannounced, heels sinking in sawdust. Her face a mask of contrition cracked at the edges.
Zoe.
It looks real. I wiped mortar from my brow, hammer dangling like a threat. It is. Unlike your apologies. She flinched. My old calluses, now hers chafing against a silk blouse. I deserve that. Therapy's peeling layers, jealousy. Mom's favoritism. Dad's rages we both absorbed. The frame job. I thought it'd free me. Make me the hero. Hero? I laughed. Sharp as shattered glass. You made me the villain. 5 years. Lila. Giblet deep in regret while you climbed. Her eyes, our eyes, filled. But I saw the calculation. The lawyer's pivot. Then let me help. Investors. Connections. Redeem myself. Temptation tugged, the merged empathy. Her network a shortcut to stardom. But trust? Shattered like that you'll log under clumsy heels. Out, I said, voice steady. She lingered, then nodded, leaving a check on the plywood counter. $50,000. No strings. I tore it up, confetti for my fresh start. But doubt wormed in. Was I punishing her? Or me? Denying alliance kept the wound open. A self-inflicted scar. Fall gilded the city in golds and reds. Harvest season mocking my stalled harvest. Harlan's shadow grand opened Halloween night. Ironic. Masks off for once. The space thrummed. Exposed brick. Edison bulbs casting warm glows over communal tables scarred like honest lives. Menu debuted vengeful. Betrayed bisque, a velvety squash soup spiked with smoked chili, framed fricassee, rabbit stew slow braised in secrets, wine. Actually. Critics came. Forks poised like skeptics. Sometimes raved. Harlan serves grudges with grace, bold. Brooding. Brutally American. Success surged. Lines snaking down the block. But shadows lengthened. Frankie called. Crows surfaced. TEDx talk in Boston. Mind over matter. Ethical frontiers. Your name's redacted. But he's shopping patents. Patents. Our minds. Commodified. Rage boiled. Familiar as rue. I flew economy to Beantown, crashing the afterparty in a warehouse loft reeking of venture capital and virtue signaling. Elias held court, silver-haired charlatan in a turtleneck, pontificating on empathy through exchange. I cornered him by the charcuterie. Voice low, remember the desperate chef? She's plating your ass now. His eyes widened, then narrowed, recognition sparking.
Zoe.
Or Lila. The merge blurs. Doesn't it? He sipped Pinot. Casual as cyanide. It worked better than planned. Data goldmine. Your sister's investment? Multiplied. Investment. Lila strings. Still tugging. She played us both. I hissed. You for cash. Me for.
What?
Amusement. Elias chuckled. Dark as demiglass. Redemption arc. She wanted to understand you, live your authentic life. Post-prison purity. But you wore her like a trophy. Who's the monster now?
Monster.
The word echoed as I stormed out into Boston sleet. Cab fare burning a hole. Back in Chicago.
I konfronted lila over burnerphones, hers.
To dodge monitors. Elias. You funded him to swap us. To understand me? That's not empathy. That's ego. Silence. Then sobs. I was drowning.
Zoe.
Firm pressure. Mom's expectations. Your life looked
Free.
simple. I thought swapping would fix me. Then the merge, your anger.
It consumed me. Consumed.
We were chimeras now. Essences entwined like brioche dough. Fix this, I demanded. Testify. Bury him. She agreed. Voice stealing my steel. Joint deposition followed. Lawyers tangling in a web of NDAs and NDAs about NDAs. Elias lawyered up, but cracks showed. Whistleblowers from his old firm. Data leaks hinting at unauthorized trials. Thanksgiving circled back. A ghost in pilgrim garb. Harlan's shadow hosted a survivor supper, invite only for ex-cons turned entrepreneurs. No family required. Tables groaned under turkey confit and cornbread dressing laced with sage wisdom.
Lauk Hatarang.
Real as rare steak. Lila showed. Uninvited. Bearing a pie, homemade. Lopsided. Truce. Eyes met. Hazel on hazel. Fractured but familiar. I nodded.
Once.
We ate in silence. Forks clinking like fragile peace. But under the table, my foot-tapped nerves, or the itch to run, holidays henceforth, mine to define.
No skipping.
But no servitude. Just Zoe, serving seconds on her terms. Yet, as pie crumbs fell, Elias's shadow loomed. A subpoena arrived Christmas week, his countersuit, alleging neural assault. The war reignited. Colder. Calculated. Revenge? Eternal simmer. Never quite off the heat. Winter clamped Chicago in its iron fist again. The Windy City living up to its nickname with gusts that howled like unpaid debts. Harlan's shadow hunkered down. Holiday lights strung like barbed wire across the windows, warding off the dark. Business boomed, word of mouth from that Sun-Times review turning skeptics into superfans, but the buzz carried barbs. Online trolls dissected my menu like coroners. Betrayed bisque? Glorifying crime much. Yelp reviews veered vicious. Food's fire. But chef's backstory? Pass. Controversy was my secret ingredient. Spicy enough to draw crowds. But it scorched. Lila's truce held. Fragile as spun sugar. We met weekly at Neutral Ground, a Wicker Park cafe where baristas didn't bat eyes at twins' intention. She'd morphed. Hair cropped practical. Suits swapped for jeans that hung loose on my old frame. House arrest lifted in November. Disbarment finalized with a whimper. Community service at a legal aid clinic. Her penance. It's humbling, she'd say. Stirring oat milk lattes. Helping the framed. The forgotten. Your influence. My influence, grit grafted via Elias's folly. But trust? A work in progress. Like a souffle that might or might not rise. We dissect the merge, flashes where I'd crave her kale smoothies. She'd hum my old Aerosmith anthems. We're better for it, she'd claim. Eyes earnest. I'd nod. But inside, resentment simmered, low heat, ready to boil. The dossier Frankie unearthed painted her as architect, emails plotting the swap as empathy therapy, a twisted Hail Mary to atone pre-arrest. Atone? Or absolve? the line blurred. Much like us. Elias's countersuit landed like a gut punch from a heavyweight. Filed in federal court. It accused us of corporate sabotage. Me, for infiltrating her persona. Her, for funding then flipping.
Damage soft, millions.
Plus injunctions to silence our defamatory claims. Media frenzy followed. Tribune headlines screamed twin terror. Chicago sisters sue over body swap sci-fi scandal. Pundits piled on. Fox calling it liberal ethics gone mad. CNN probing tech's dark underbelly. My bistro became a circus. Gawkers snapping pics. Protesters waving signs. Mind theft is theft. I lawyered up with Raja's Rolodex, a shark named Kendra. All power suits and pitbull glare. We've got leverage, she growled over takeout pho in my apartment. Crow's patents pending. Your neural data is the crown jewel. We flip it. Sue for unauthorized experimentation. Invasive. Illegal. Discovery unearthed horrors. Trial logs listing subject Z1, me, as high resentment profile. Ideal for transference stability. Lila's notes. Zoe's simplicity will ground me.
Post-swap.
Resume life unburdened. Unburdened. The word fueled depositions. My voice steady as I recounted prison slop versus her steak frites. Lila testified beside me. Her poise cracked. I sought understanding, not destruction. The merge. It humanized us both. Judge, a grizzled vet named O'Malley, eyed us like suspect soufflés. But evidence tilted. Biotech whistleblowers. Fried servers from the fire yielding backups. Elias's empire teetered. Investors bolted. Christmas loomed. That annual specter. Mom broke radio silence with a letter. Handwritten. Postmarked Elmwood. Daughters. Enough. Home for the holidays.
No naibs.
Literal or figurative. Enclosed, old photos. Us as kids in elf hats. Grins gap-toothed and genuine. Heart tugged, merged empathy. Or buried longing. Lila got the same. We texted simultaneously. Going? Her reply. If you do. Controversy peaked Eve's Eve. A podcaster cornered me post-shift. Mike thrust like accusation. Zoe. Was the swap karma for your crimes? My crimes, hers. I snatched the mic. Crimes? Try survival. Family treated me like holiday help, then framed me for their feast. This, gesturing to the bistro's glow. My plate. My rules. Clip went viral. Memes morphing me into avenging angel or she-devil, depending on the feed. Chaos ensued. Reservations doubled. Death threats tripled. Frankie tailed me home. .38 bulging. Vipers everywhere. Kid. We reconvened at the old house. Snow blanketing the driveway like fresh lies. Mom answered the door. Apron dusted with flour. Eyes red-rimmed but resolute. Girls. Hugs were stiff. Dad's grip bone crush from his recliner. The tree loomed. Ornaments tinkling accusations. Dinner was potluck truce. My contribution. A neutral roast beef. Lila's. Salad. Greens for growth. She joked weakly. Conversations skirted mine's work. Weather until pie. When Mom cracked. I favored you. Lila. The achiever.
Zoe.
You were.
Steady.
I leaned wrong. Leaned wrong. The dam burst. Dad admitted rages born of pension stress. Us kids as shields. Lila confessed the embezzlement's root, covering his gambling debts. Fear of his cop legacy tarnished.
Me?
I'd known. Buried it under recipes. taking emotional scraps as love. Betrayal's web, woven generational. Midnight mass followed. St. Mary's packed with incense and hypocrisy. We knelt side by side, candles flickering like fragile vows. Post-service, carolers on the green, off-key silent night, piercing the cold. Lila linked arms. Truce holds. I squeezed. For now. But Elias's ghost hovered. His lawyer emailed at 2 a.m. Settlement offer. Sign. Or we expose the mercs. Intimacies. Intimacies. Flashes of her memories. Lovers tangled. Boardroom conquests bled into mine. Erotic echoes that blurred boundaries. Controversial? Understatement. I dreamed in her skin. Woke sweating. Questioning desires. Was it violation? Or evolution? New Year dawned with verdict. Settlement rejected. Trial set for March. Battle lines drawn. Harlan's shadow thrived amid turmoil. Pop-up, revenge nights, drawing crowds for themed tastings. Twist and tenderloin. Success tasted bittersweet, like victory laced with venom. But the real twist brewed in February. Frankie uncovered it. Elias wasn't rogue. Biotech firm, Neuralink, had greenlit the trials. Lila's investment, a front for their R&D. She wasn't puppet master, pawn, like me. Her jealousy? Real. But manipulated, firm shrinks planting seeds during stress sessions. The frame job? Coerced. Evidence fabricated to isolate me for the swap. Reversal gutted us. Lila collapsed in my apartment, sobbing. They used us. Sisters against sisters. For patents. Rage unified, merged minds sinking like perfect harmony. We pivoted. Class action suit. Allying with other subjects unearthed in leaks. Elias fled to Cayman. But extradition loomed. Spring equinox brought bloom. Trial win. Neuralink crippled. Payouts pouring. Harlan's shadow expanded. Second location in Logan Square. Lila? Reinvented as advocate. Co-authoring a memoir. Swapped secrets. A twin tale of betrayal and bonds. We toured. Voices entwined. Debating stages. Heroines or survivors. Holidays circled eternal. That Christmas, we hosted at the bistro. Family. Fractured but mending. Mom carved turkey. Dad poured toasts.
No skips.
No chaos, just quiet contention. Forgiveness full. Or facade. Readers argue, we live it. One bite at a time. Yet, in quiet moments, I wonder, the swap scar, did it heal? Or just relocate the wound? Lila's laugh in my throat. My resilience in her stride. Monsters? Or miracles? The feast continues. Plates passed. Truths savored slow. The will turned full circle by summer swelter. Chicago's humidity wrapping the city in a steam bath that mirrored the sweat of our ongoing saga. Harlan's shadow had metastasized into a mini-empire, 3 locations now. From Pilsen to Printers Row. Each outpost a testament to resilience, Ruthick. Raj crowed over spreadsheets at investor dinners. Zoe's not just cooking, she's curating catharsis. Catharsis paid dividends, book deals, TED invites. Even a Netflix docuseries pitch, swapped at first bite. I demurred the screen time. Some recipes stay secret. Lila and I, an uneasy alloy, forged in fire and feedback loops. Our merged essences played tricks. I'd catch myself negotiating tips with her lawyerly lilt. She'd experiment with my off-script flair in advocacy speeches. Therapy joint sessions with a shrink specializing in post-transference trauma, dissected it like a complex cassoulet. You're co-evolving, Dr. Reyes would say, her glasses glinting like warning lights. Embrace the hybrid, or it consumes you. Embrace? Easier said than swallowing pride. The Neuralink fallout rippled wide. Class actions settled for 8 figures, divvied among swappers, a dozen souls from vagrant vets to exec burnouts. All guinea pigs in Elias's grand gignol. He extradited in May. Trial a media melee in the Dirksen building. We testified tandem. A two-headed hydra of hurt. Lila's poise cracked under cross. Yes. I funded it for redemption.
No.
I didn't foresee the intimacy. Intimacy, the word hung. Taboo as forbidden fruit. Jurors shifted, tabloids tittered. Twins twisted tango. Elias took the fall, 20 years.
Plus à cette forfaiture.
On the stand, he sneered. You wanted it. Harlan. Both of you.
Power.
Payback, neural candy. But his empire crumbled. Patents voided. Tech shelved as ethical napalm. Victory tasted like vindication vinaigrette, tart, triumphant, with a sting. Family mended in fits. Mom volunteered at the bistro.
Heure PTA précision perfecting mise en place.
I was blind.
Zoe.
Favored the shine. Ignored the spark. Dad fished less. Joined AA, his rages rooted in bottles. Not just bets. Holidays evolved, no longer minefields, but minefields mapped. Last Easter. We did brunch, deviled eggs deviled with devilish truths. Laughter laced with remember whens. But controversy clung like fond. Online forums dissected us. Zoe's the real villain. Stole Lila's life for clout.
Nah.
Lila deserved it. Karma's a cleaver. Debatable endings fueled the fire. Our memoir hit bestseller lists, sparking salon debates from book clubs to bar stools. Happy? Tragic? Or just terribly human? Summer solstice brought the gut twist, Dr. Reyes dropped a bomb in session. Scans show the merge is progressing. Not reversing, deepening.
Deepening. Neural tendril intertwining permanent.
Essences blurring beyond twins. Dreams shared now, her in my old prison cell, me in her boardroom. Boundaries dissolving like sugar in simmer. Panic flared, mine. Hers.
Ours.
We could unmerge, Reyes hedged. Experimental. 80%.
80.
Echo of Elias. Lila gripped my hand. Together? I nodded. Fate's fork familiar. Procedure in a Swiss clinic neutral ground. White coats whispering Teutonic assurances. Strapped side by side. Machines humming hymns to hubris. We plunged into static symphony. Woke to white walls. Monitors beeping benediction. Bodies ours fully, fractiously. But the hybrid lingered, her cunning in my crises, my warmth in her wins. Better, she asked, voice solely hers. Whole, I replied, mine alone. Or as whole as shattered plates glued with gold, kintsugi-kin. Fall foliage framed fresh chapters. Harlan's shadow launched twin tastings, collaborative menus. Her legal lore inspiring plea bargain paella, my grit grounding parole panna cotta. Lila founded a foundation, swapped voices, aiding identity theft victims. From cyber scams to soul-stealing cons. We keynote, together. Voices volleying, betrayal's bite. Revenge's recoil. Redemption's recipe. Thanksgiving tested the glue. Full Harlan table, cousins,
Aunts.
the works at Pilsen flagship. Turkey trust tradition. Stuffing stuffed with stories. Toasts teetered, Dad's gruff to second chances, Mom's misty to seeing clear. Lila and I clinked last, glasses brimming. To us flawed, fused, free. Chaos ensued, inevitably. A cousin's toast veered tipsy. To Zoe's swap, ultimate glow-up. Laughter rippled, then soured, old wounds winking. Arguments erupted over pie. Was it justice or just jealousy? Forks flew like furies. Mom mediated. Dad diffused with dad jokes.
No knives drawn.
But edges honed family. After all. Christmas capped the carousel. Bistro transformed into Winter Wonderland San Saccharin. No skipping theme. Open invite. Pay what you can for strays, homeless vets, fractured families. Snow fell soft outside. Inside warmth welled. Carols crooned a cappella. Mulled wine mulling memories. Lila and I manned the line. Apron synced. Plating peace. Midnight. Under mistletoe mocking. She pulled me aside. Zoe. The merge. It's not gone. I feel you in the quiet, the quick tempers. I nodded. Her echo in my exhale.
Same.
But it's not curse.
It's
Us. Hug lingered. Controversial as ever, sisters. Survivors. Something more?
ending.
Debatable dawn. Happy. Empires built. Bonds brazed. Tragic. Scars eternal. Trust tentative. Or ambiguous American dream, gritty, glorious. Gone awry. As confetti cannons popped New Year's, I whispered to the crowd, raise your glass to chaos. Without it, who'd savor the calm? Life's a long table now. Seats shifted. Menus mutable. No more holiday chef, I'm head chef.
Plating my plot.
Lila?
Su.
Sharp and steadfast. Family?
Dinesh.
Demanding but dear. Revenge? Ging. Enjoyed.
Evolved.
And if shadows stir, Elias's acolytes tinkering anew. Or inner demons dining incognito, we're armed. Forks at ready. Flavors fierce. The feast endures. 4,000 words woven into one wild.
Wicked tie. Bon appétit. Or bon revenge.
Your call.